Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun, and we'll be looking at a topic, common HR pitfalls and how to avoid them. Practical insights for effective HR management. Our facilitator for tonight is Omo Bolajoko Showemimo. She's so popular, she needs no introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to hand over control. Please feel free to share the link of this particular webinar with your colleagues and friends. Also, we'll upload this on the YouTube channel, Oluyemi Adeosun, immediately after this live session so that you can rewatch and share with your colleagues and associates. The next voice you'll be hearing is that of Omobola Joko Showemimo. She engages with us this evening on the topic common HR pitfalls and how to avoid them. Practical insights for effective HR. You have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here, my doctor. So my name is Omobola Joko Showemimo, and I'm excited to share my own insights. The topic is not new to us. I believe as HR professionals, our everyday operation, everyday activities, deliverables, engagement, transactions, we have some pitfalls, and sometimes it's our fault, sometimes it's because we overlook, sometimes it's not our fault. But I think we just want to remind ourselves this evening on some of these pitfalls and how we can avoid them. So the saying that if you keep doing the same thing year in, year out and expect a different result, that doesn't make you a smart person. So we just need to just remind ourselves. So I'm not sure I'm going to be saying something so new. It's something we've probably seen, heard, but we probably just didn't pay too much attention to it. So we'll just be sharing our knowledge together tonight. So common HR pitfalls and how to avoid them. So these are just practical insight for effective HR management. So our discussion point tonight will be HR's role in shaping organizational culture, compliances, and productivity. So a lot of this pitfall actually, they have impact on the culture, they have impact on productivity and compliance issues. When we talk about litigation, when we talk about so some of this compliance issue has to do with when a company is in the limelight because of a compliance issue, it affects the brand image of the company. So as HR, you don't want to be found in that space. So we talk about the mistakes, the impact of the mistakes, because sometimes when things happen, if we don't, or when we preempt a situation, if we don't understand the impact, what it will cost us, we can just gloss over it. We can just trivialize it, and it's no big deal. But when it happens, of course, there are consequences, there are costs, there are prices to pay, and we'll talk about the solution. Okay, so I'm just going to do a bit of introduction. We all know the importance of HR. We all know the conversation now is that HR is not just has moved from personnel management. HR is now playing a very, very crucial role in shaping culture, in shaping values, in behaviors and practices. I was sharing yesterday with a friend some of the experiences I had last year and how it has shaped me. And when I did my own self-assessment, I'm like, okay, Omobola Joko, if you leave this place today, what are the things you want them to say about you, and what have you impacted into the organization? So you did XYZ in 2024. What can you improve? What processes can you improve? What more value can you bring? So this is talking about the culture. So are we friendly? What's the percentage of our friendliness in the workspace? Can we improve it? Can we increase it? Practices. What were we not doing? Our recruitment process. How can we improve on it? Do we spend what numbers of days do we spend for recruitment? So when an applicant comes to our office for interview, how many hours do they stay? Can we reduce it? Can we bring in a bit of more experience to our recruitment? You know, those are practices. So and all this has to align with the business goal, because at the end of the day, the business goal is the target for every one of us. Also, thinking about to also ensure compliance. Sorry. I think So also ensure compliance by implementing and monitoring adherence. A lot of time on the community group, we see questions around management deciding to go about a particular issue in a particular way that we know it's against the labor law. We know it can bring about a compliance issue. These are the things we are going to talk about. So as HR, we need to understand what the labor law is saying. Also, what our company policies are saying. You know, when developing company policies, sometimes we develop it based on situations that has just happened. We are not proactive. Sometimes we are reactive with our policies. So when you're reactive with policies, you don't have a complete overview. Because of the issues at hand, it reduces your overview of situation of things, procedures and processes as well. Also, HR enhanced productivity. We cannot overemphasize this. We are the facilitators or drivers of productivity within the system, because and starts from your recruitment, how you source for the talent. What kind of talent are you looking for? I was in an interview panel today, and beyond the technical skills, yes, we had someone who had the technical skill, in depth, knew the job very well. But there were other things that we were also looking at. So as HR, we all have to, we need to understand this, that what sometimes when we are recruiting, you're not just recruiting for the technical skill. Cultural fits. How can the person easily fit into what you have? The baggages, the people, the person is bringing with. So when I say baggages, you know, the way they do things in the previous workplace. Trust me, if the onboarding and induction is not managed properly, there can be a transfer. So we're also, HR also look into employee engagement, you know, supporting documents, you know, bring out initiatives that make people look forward to coming to work every day. Because it's important that I tell people that we spend 8 hours on the job, a minimum of 8 hours. Some people spend more than that. And the point is, what experience am I getting from that 8 hours? It's not just because I come to work and I get paid. There has to be an impact. There has to be a life within that 8 hours. So it is very, very crucial for us as HR professional to be able to understand all this and find a way to weave it together so that we have a good experience. So the first pitfall I'm going to talk about is compliance failure. Compliance failure. And this occur when we just overlook things as an HR professional. So even some of us that has been in this profession, sometimes we fall into this category. So you know, the various compliance or statutory obligations that we have: NSITF, group life insurance, HMO, and NHF, that's the housing, if your company is still doing ITF. And aside from aside from those ones, there are sometimes your internal policies, your internal policies against what the labor law is saying. So you get to, there was a time I had a situation where a staff just joined us, and I think in the first 6 months, she got pregnant, and the discussion was, are we going to, will she be entitled to maternity leave? So when that question was thrown at me by my senior executive, of course, I knew pregnancy is the fundamental right of any woman, childbirth. So if a woman chooses to get pregnant, it's their fundamental right. And it's not in my place to say, if you join us in the first 6 months or in the first 1 year, you can't get pregnant. So because I'm not going to dictate how husband and wife, they sleep together at home and they make babies. I can't do that. But my management was like, no, blah, blah, blah. So what I did was I just had to go look for all laws, all documents supporting it, that she's entitled to maternity leave, and all our own obligation towards her that surrounds maternity leave, she's entitled to it. And that was how were able to come to an agreement. And immediately it was documented, because that's an internal policy. Also, policies around training, policies around disciplinary issues, termination, all those policy has to fit into what the labor law is saying. Because yes, I know sometimes there are exceptions, but exception is not the order of the day. The labor law is there to guide us. That because the labor law is like our constitution. So there are a lot of acts that we can read up. So we need to avoid this compliance issue. I think for me, it's one of the things that is easy for us to avoid, because you have a law, you have a document that the Nigerian government supports, that can back it up. Also, over the years of experience, I have come to realize that sometimes the management might just be so resistant to it. I use the word resistant because I believe there is no management that is unreasonable, that wants to put their business in jeopardy just because of a situation. Also, legal issues, as much as possible, anything that would lead to a litigation matter is something we need to avoid, because there's a lot of cost to it. There's a reputational damage. Employees talk among themselves, they whisper, and how matters are being handled says a lot. You're actually telling the other employees that, see, if you are the one in this issue, it's the same thing that you're going to face, and that can bring dissatisfaction. They are demoralized, and of course that leads to productivity. So imagine in a factory where employees are not happy, they are dissatisfied. It can drop production, and not just that, somebody who is absent-minded and is operating a machine, that can lead to a major issue. So some of these issues that we can avoid, they are paid, of course, unpaid statutory benefits, pension, NSITF, HMO, because HMO has also become a statutory benefit for us. When you have unsafe work environment. Now, unsafe work environment can come in different form. When you encourage harassment, when you encourage bullying, when you encourage gossip, people doing it can bring unsafe work environment, because it breeds mistrust. People don't trust themselves. I'm of the opinion that the workplace, we should be able to trust ourselves to a certain level. Not necessarily that you become my sister or you become my brother, but there should be a level of friendliness, and a place where you have gossip, It's not allowed. And it becomes a culture. So we have to we have to make sure that all this are well taken care of. Discrimination claims, you subtly say you don't want to bring in some certain tribe. And I use the word subtle because sometimes we don't even know that we are biased. We tend to have a lot of biases play out, and we are not even aware that these things they play out. So those are the things we need to look at. Also, I want to talk about audit practices. As HR, we need to have audit practices at interval. Whatever works for your organization and your operation. But the point is, there should be audits. And one of the things the audit will do for you is it will keep you on track. It will help you to look at what have I been doing? What can I do better? Are we missing out some things? Are we supposed to be doing it? That's one of the audits things will do for you. And audit practice will help you to stay on legal changes. There are a whole lot of legal issues that come up every day. Thank God for all the community groups that we have where information are being shared and are being passed. So it's not an excuse for you that, okay, I didn't know this happened. I didn't know this is what is going on. There are information flying around. So you should be in trend with legal matters. Is very, very important. So all this will help us to avoid all this compliance failure. And one thing it will do for you is it would make your company very, very credible. And I also firmly believe that you as an HR, when they are going to talk about you as a professional, I'm sure one of the things they will say is that HR professional is always on top of his or her game. Yeah, somebody mentioned psychological safety within the workplace, and I absolutely agree with that. So I want to share impacts of non-compliance, legal penalties, reputational damage, employee dissatisfaction, operational disruption, financial losses, difficulty in talent acquisition. Why? Because there is reputational damage, because people will talk. These days, people are already, when people want to take up a new role in a new company, they ask around. Do you know anybody that works in so and so? How are they like? What do you have to say about them? Do you know someone who works there? How do they treat people? So you want to be careful that you are doing everything you're supposed to be doing so that you can attract the right people. Of course, sometimes there are regulatory investigations. This is not so well. Let me not say not so. But I think because that there are a few times in my work experience that I've experienced this regulatory investigation, and I think it's normal. So we should expect them. Poor workplace culture. Poor workplace culture. This is very important, and I think this culture actually starts from the leadership. It starts from the leadership. Whatever the leadership, however the leadership is positioning themselves within the organization, their behavior, their how they address issues, how they attend to matters. So for example, someone a leader who comes late for meeting, just like Mr. Dr. Oluyemi apologized that we started a bit late, because that is not usually the behavior for us on this platform. So that's a culture. So we have a culture that we are always right on time. So as a leader, if you are not always right on time, by the way, Dr. Emi had already started calling me like 6:30 to make sure that I'm prepared, I'm ready. It was because I was in transit. So that's culture we're talking about. So if you're talking about poor workplace culture, I think we need to check how the leaders, what their behavior, what their disposition is like, because it flows from the top. So those are the impacts of non-compliance. So I just shared a few examples here. I didn't put the names of the company because of data protection. So it's just for us to just have an idea. There's a whole lot of examples for us on the internet. We can research that. So a manufacturing firm lost in Lagos, lost investors due to public backlash after a whistleblower exposed poor compliance with labor law. One thing I know about investors is they want to know that where I am putting my money is safe. And safe does not just mean capable hands. They want to look at how you do things, your business processes. They want to look at how your compliance with the law of the land. They want to see how you treat your staff, how you treat your clients, your book processes and your bookkeeping processes and all that. They look at a whole lot of things. So if poor compliance is an issue, it raises an eyebrow for an investor. Another example is a tech startup was fined for failing to register employee under NSITF. Now, people might because NSITF is I'm not sure they are as aggressive as the tax people. I'm not sure, but I've had dealings with NSITF. You know, they've been to one of my workplace to do presentation to us, and that even made me understood better their existence. And one of the things NSITF does for you is it's a form of insurance. And I think all HR professionals should take time to research more about them. Yes, I know the gist in town about them is that they are slow when it comes to you getting back when there's an issue and you need to process funds and all that. Their processes are slow. I think they've improved. Now, I'm not selling them, but it's what I have experienced. They've improved, and every organization should have their staff registered on NSITF. Is very, very important. Another example is pension, of course. We know what pension is. Now, I've seen topics around where an employee is saying that don't pay pension for me, give me my money and all that. As a matter of fact, nobody has any right to collect their pension fund now. It is mandatory, it is statutory. And once they come for you, or there's a whistleblowing issue regarding pension, it is always messy. So my advice is we should all endeavor to encourage our company to do all this, make sure that they are compliant with all these statutory requirements. So I just provide some solutions here. There could be more. You can add more. Stay updated on labor law matters. Conduct compliance audits. Implement clear policies. Please, in our policy development, ambiguity should not be entertained in any way. It should be clear, concise. Leverage HR technology. There are a whole lot of technology out there. We should leverage on it. And also, it's important to provide compliance training, because this is one thing I know that a lot of us, we do not do. So people don't appreciate it. Even staff themselves, they don't appreciate some of this compliance matters. So I think we HR, if we can provide just a short and a brief training around it. Establish reporting mechanism. This is important because, you know, in a case where you have harassment, sexual harassment, you have bullying in the office, you want to catch this thing before they become big matters in your hands. So you need to create reporting mechanisms that are safe, where people can trust. Also engage legal experts. When any situation that is almost tilting towards the legal space, please let always engage a legal expert, except you have a background in law, except you have but if as HR, I don't have a legal background at all. So I always go to my legal people, even for even for my offer letter, sometimes I just ask them, review it. What do you think is missing? Should we add anything? Should we remove anything? So please, let's engage. That's why they are there. Maintain accurate records, proper documentation. It is very, very important. And the culture of compliance, it is on us. We have to find a way to foster this, build this culture. Also, let's be proactive. We can't we can't we can't we can't be reactive all the time. We need to be very, very proactive. So our second pitfall, what we're talking about is outdated handbooks and policies. So there's this conversation that how often should our policies be reviewed? I think that question for me is subject to the context of the organization, as in where you find yourself. So some organization can do twice a year, some do once a year. In one of the places where I've worked before, we do once a year. We just come together, sit down and look at all the policies, in line with, okay, this year we've experienced this has happened, that has happened. So what is our policy saying about it? Do we need to review it? Do we need to take away? Do we need to add? Sometimes some policies are developed when you're small. And as the business enlarges, as the business grows, there's a need for review. So we're saying that policies and outdated handbooks, they create confusion. They are not inconsistent because it's outdated. So, and one thing they would do is they would always bring mistrust among employees. Also, they don't address the current legal issues, technological issues as well. So, the way technology is evolving. Now, one of the thing I want to talk about in the area of this technology is, I'm not sure, I'm sure some of us, we've experienced some of emails that they call phishing emails. They just come asking you to click on the link. Some of them sound so interesting, so enticing. So if your policies around technology, if it's not evolving, if it's not being reviewed, it can put the company in an issue, in a problem. I heard of a company where I think they lost like 14 million as a result of an email that they got. So they have foreign partners, and they got an email from supposed foreign partners, not knowing that it was actually a scam. I think it was on the second level of transaction. I can't remember the story correctly. That was when they noticed something was wrong. And of course, money, a huge lot of money. And when I say 14 million, I'm not talking about 14 million of today. I'm talking about some years back. And that's a lot of money. So if there had been reviews in their processes, just checking. Sometimes you don't even have to have problem before you critique a policy. It doesn't necessarily mean that there has to be issue before a process or a procedure is critiqued. You just critique it to see how you can fine tune it. So we're also talking about cultural changes, cultural changes in terms of the people we bring into the team. We have diverse orientation, mindset, people coming from different places. So these are conversations we need to be having all the time. So when we have outdated handbook and policies, we actually make the organization to be very, very vulnerable. The company is just going to, because the company would not even know when they are falling into a pit hole. So we need to be on top of our game. Another thing in this area we want to talk about is Updating policy ensures clarity. Everybody is on the same page. We know it is relevant. We know it aligns with how our business is evolving, the business need. We know that it is meeting employees' expectation as well. So we are not just sitting back and waiting for issues to happen. So we are being proactive. We are asking ourselves questions. How can we do it better? How can we make it better? So challenges of outdated policies. Of course, misaligned practice with the current law or industry standards. So when we leave it on the shelf, because policies get outdated when we just put it on the shelf, they get misaligned. Employees are confused. There is inconsistent decision making. And it's even difficult to address modern workplace issues. So for example, if your company runs a remote, you've started doing remote or hybrid, you should start thinking, if you don't have already, please start thinking of a remote workplace policy or a hybrid policy, because the dynamics is different. The challenges will be new. So around meetings, work deliverables, and all that. So it's something you should start thinking about. Of course, there will be consequences if our policies and handbook are not up to date. There will be it can lead to legal issues. Employee would, when we talked about employees, it creates confusion amongst the employee. This will lead to decline in employees' trust and morale, because everyone wants to be in a place where they know that they are carried along. So when policies are outdated and employees they commit an offense and they're like, but it's not in the policy. The policy did not tell me that I'm not supposed to wear armless to work. And if the policy is saying they're not supposed to wear, the dress policy is saying, did not say they are not supposed to wear it, and they wear it, you can't query them for it. You can't, as a matter of fact, they've not committed any offense. But if it is clearly stated, everybody knows and we are all on the same page. Of course, it reduces organizational efficiency and adaptability. So I'll still use the dress code policy. If I'm being challenged for wearing armless to the office, when the office policy does not clearly indicate that wearing armless is against the company rule, if my HR raises a matter and maybe query or confront me, I feel bad about it. I'm like, okay, why didn't you just tell me? Why is it not in the policy? That day alone, it takes someone who is strong. It takes someone who is good with who can take the query and just move ahead. It will affect their efficiency for that day. It will affect the productivity they are going to bring to the table on that day. And they can just be rebellious. They can just decide to be rebellious because it's not in the policy, and the policy is supposed to be our guideline for every conversation within the workspace. So just providing few solutions. This is not limited. Conduct regular review and audits of policies. So audit is one thing we can't take away from our processes, our operation as HR professions. So we always have to audit everything we do. Involve legal experts to ensure compliance. So your policy, your legal department can review it just for a second look to make sure that, okay, there is nothing out of place. Engage employees to provide inputs on policy updates. This is very important. This is very, very important. The employee should have a buy-in. Ask for their thoughts. engage them. And, because it's like we are developing it together. We all agree that, okay, on particular day, we will do this. For this kind of situation, this is the process and all that. So it's important to engage employees, communicate and train. Communicate and train. Policies are not, should not be on the shelf, should not be in the HR's cabinets. It should be communicated, and people should be trained on it. I would advise that you can always have, maybe once in a quarter, do a policy awareness. So maybe you probably just pick a particular policy, depends on the size or the mode of operation, how the company is structured. You can just pick a policy and just have a review. Just remind people, we human beings, we tend to forget. So a reminder will do us good. A reminder will save us a legal matter. A reminder will save us some penalties. So we can always review, we can always have conversation around our policies. The third mishap I would like to talk about is mismanagement of leave. Mismanagement of leave. So, leave management is all about us tracking, planning, and approving employee time off to a time off to balance workforce productivity and employee well-being. Now, the labor law says that, I'm just going to paraphrase that, at least employees are entitled to 1 day off in a month. So meaning minimum of 12 working days in the year. That's what it says. So every organization should have a time where their employee, they go on leave. I know there are some of us that are workaholic and we don't go on leave. I'm also guilty, but it's important. Now, why is leave important for us? It's important for us because of our well-being. It is only when you are well that you can actually contribute to the productivity of the organization. And if you want to have a balanced workforce, you have to manage your leave very, very well. So you need to know how to track, plan, and make sure that everybody goes on leave. I've worked in a place where people don't go on leave. And I mean, so when I say people don't go on leave, people take leave. They would tell you 2 days. I'm taking 2 days. By the time you find out what they are using, they use that 2 days for. They went to use it to do another work, and they break it like that. So 2 days, and you find out that they are tired, they are stressed, that fatigue is really dealing with them, and those are the periods where you have a lot of mistakes. So I know this is also a cultural issue. I know this is also a cultural issue, but I think we HR, we can champion the conversation around proper leave. At least take out time to rest. Take out time to rest. I know of a company, the December before the new year is when they come up with their leave roster for the following year. I mean, they are deliberate. They come up with the leave roster to make sure that everybody planned their leave. So doing that helps them to track, helps them to make sure that nobody's leave is overlapping that should not overlap. So leave policies must balance employees' needs with operational efficiency. So a leave roster will help you to achieve this balancing between the employee's need and the operational efficiency. A leave roster will do that. And we have different types of leave. We have annual, maternity, we have paternity now, sick leave, bereavement leave. It depends. Some casual leave as well too. So it depends. But as HR, one of the things we should do and we want to do is, and I think I'm saying this from experience, we need to champion that conversation that people should take their leave to rest and recuperate, because it's important for the productivity of the organization. It's very, very important. I've been in an employment where the staff we're always falling ill. And when we did an audit, we realized that it's because people don't go on leave, because the work itself, is demanding, is very, very demanding. And at least there should be a time where somebody shuts down. And this is another thing I want to mention. HR, please, when people go on leave, let's encourage or let's minimize conversation with them. Because you see people go on leave, even on the leave that they are enjoying, on the vacation, they are responding to mails. They are responding to conversation, to transaction from the office. So the question is, don't they have people that can deputize for them? That is another conversation. So it's important for us. We need to look into this. So common leave management mistakes, overlapping, of course. This might occur in a case where you are understaffed. So there could be overlapping, but this overlapping should not even be the norm. We can manage it. We can find a way to make sure that the overlapping does not occur at all, or we reduce it to the barest minimal. So also ambiguous policy leading to disputes around leave management. Sometimes people don't know the number of days that they are entitled to. They don't know, they don't know the difference between casual leave. They don't know the difference between sick leave. Okay, sick leave, how many am I entitled to? Now, I didn't mention the numbers of the leave days because it depends on organization. It depends on organization. So that's why I did not put the numbers of days. So we can go back and sit down and look at our leave management or leave policy to see if there's anything we want to fine tune. Sometimes manual tracking can lead to error as well too. I've seen some people in the chat saying that they have a leave calendar. I think that's a good suggestion. We can, of course, if you go online as well too, there are a whole lot of leave tracker that you can download that can help you do these things better. Also, ignoring legal requirements for leave entitlements. Now, I put this here in the area of maternity leave. You remember the story I started with, that I had an issue with one of my management, the management that I work with, asking that as a female, you can't get pregnant in the first, well, I have my seniors on the call, so maybe they can still speak more to it, but the LIL, International Labour Organization document that I read said a woman is entitled to childbearing. It's a fundamental right for a woman. So once a woman gets pregnant, the labor law says she's entitled to leave managing maternity leave. That is my own conclusion. Any other conversation around it, I'm just following what the documents, the statutory documents that supports maternity leave for every woman. And of course, the paternity leave has also come into play, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure there is any act or law backing that up. I think it's just the discretion of the management or the compassion of the management. I'm not too sure about that. So impact of mismanagement, declined employee trust and engagement. When people know that so imagine some people are being given more preferential treatment when it comes to leave. This person can easily get leave when they ask for it and all that. It's there will be a question of trust, and also absenteeism. People will just be absent. They will just go, today I have malaria. Today I have running stomach. There will be a whole lot of calling sick. We know how we do it sometimes. So that's one of the impacts of not having your leave managed properly. Of course, there'll be legal fine for in a case of a woman who is denied her rights. It could lead to litigation. There could also be workforce disruption, productivity losses in different ways. So these are some of the few impacts of mismanagement. So solution, implement an automated leave management system. We can do that using, at least, even if your organization cannot do software, I think an Excel should be able to help you track this properly. Develop and communicate a clear leave policy if you don't have that within the system. But if you have, I think the communication reiterates, communicate again, walk people through it, let people ask questions, ask them, do they understand? And please let the policy, the leave policy, let it be in compliance with the labor law. Train management on fair and consistent leave practices. It is very, very important. I think for all our policies as HR, all the policies that we are custodians of, we should train our managers on them. It's very, very important. So we'll talk about effective onboarding, So just a minute. Please, just a minute. I'm okay. Okay. So your onboarding process is your way of integrating new people. So, just as a start from recruitment, where you're observing your prospect and the prospect is also observing you. But once we've able to pass that stage, the onboarding starts. And onboarding starts from when you send the offer letter, how you communicate to the person, possibly maybe you need to request that the person go for some medical tests before joining, request for some documentation. These are experiences that we're already creating, and they are onboarding experiences. So if it is a poor integration, it creates confusion for the person coming, and person like, hope I've not entered one chance like this. Share I've not entered one chance, because at that moment already the person is already doubting. There's already a mistrust. There's already questions that shouldn't have been avoided. So you're looking at low engagement, delayed productivity. Imagine an onboarding where you didn't prepare the necessary work to the person is supposed to get, and work tool is taking 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. That is a no, 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 no. So we need to have a structured process in place. So without a structured process, employees may feel unsupported. Of course, if my work tool takes 5 days for me to get as a new staff, I know that I have entered one chance in that organization. And possibility that I begin to look out is higher. So which can lead to increased turnover. And of course, this will reduce the ability of the company to retain top talent. And the thing with top talent is they can read between the line. They know their value, they know their worth. And if they join if they join an organization and in the first week they are experiencing things that looks like poor integration, they begin to look out. So I had a story on one of the HR mentorship group. She an HR was sharing her experience with the company she joined, where they had to they there was no water. I mean, there was no water for provided for them in the office. They had to, I think they had to buy pure water. Now, as much as there are two ways or diverse ways we can look at it, but I think water is something organization should provide. I think so. Well, in all the places I have worked, we always provide water. At least there's a dispenser where you can take water. So because imagine someone walking and you're dehydrated and you need to take water and you have to stop, leave what you're doing to go outside to buy water. That's an experience for the person. So she was saying that she experienced this in the first week or of joining the organization, and she was like, ha, it was a culture shock for her. So she was like, as in so she knew at that moment that she's not going to stay long. So that's an onboarding experience. So there are just little things here and there that when new employees join us, that they see, and once they are able to filter some of these things out, they are like, whoo, this is one chance. And we don't want that to be our story, because like I said, that it affects, some of this thing affects the employer's brand, the brand of the organization. Because if somebody else wants to come in, just imagine that I know that HR professional. If I'm being recruited by that company, she has mentioned it. Do you think and I know the company's name, I won't join them. So that means they've lost a talent like me. So these are some of the impacts of these things. So signs of ineffective onboarding. So now for me as HR, these are the signs I need to watch out for. So why are my staffs leaving? Why am I having a high turnover? Am I doing survey? Do I know why people are leaving? The reason why people are leaving can tell me what is wrong. So maybe the way they are being welcomed, they are left in isolation, they are not properly integrated to meet with other people, or maybe even the new staffs are not warm to them. They are not open to them. They are not receptive. They are not opening their hands to welcome them into the new system. So new employees struggle to understand roles and responsibilities. So when there are no clear cuts of roles and responsibility, a new employer joins, you're not handing them over to someone within the units that, okay, Bola, this is a new staff joining us. Handhold him or her to be able to integrate into the system. We just leave them to figure things out. As a matter of fact, it is not proper for you to leave new staff joining you to figure out things by themselves. There should be someone, there should be like a body, a work body, or a mentor within the system. Lack of engagement and motivation in the first few months. This is a no-no. We have to engage them. We have to check up on them. How are you doing? How are you finding the job? What's your experience like? Do you have any challenge? Do you have any issue that we can resolve? Poor communication, unclear expectation during onboarding process. The communication is poor. They don't understand the vision, the mission, the culture, the values, what is expected of them, how they are expected to interact, to deliver, how we do things here. If all these things are not there, it's a sign of ineffective onboarding. Limited or no training or development opportunity provided to the new hires is a no. As a salesperson, I just joined my new company. At least, yes, I know I was recruited for my experience because of the things I'm going to bring on board, but I should be trained on how things are being done in that organization. That's the training we're talking about. I should I should see development opportunities. Okay, so from if I stay 2 years on a particular role, there's the possibility that I'm going to move to this next role if I meet all these criteria. It should be clear. It should not be limited. As let me put it this way, don't hoard information during onboarding. Put everything on the table for the employee, the new hires to be aware of. It's actually fair, it's unfair on them when we hoard information. And I think a lot of people are guilty of this because we probably just think that they don't need the information. No, they do need the information because remember, it's a new territory. They are not familiar with the territory. So they need all the information that can equip them to thrive in this new territory. So we'll talk about the consequences of poor onboarding. Of course, high turnover is guaranteed. Is guaranteed when the onboarding process is poor. Reduce productivity as well too, because so imagine a new hire that doesn't know what is expected. No job description that is clear cut. The job description is not well defined. It's not well. So who do I report to? No clear reporting line. So if I have issues, who do I go to? It will reduce productivity because most time the person will be like, I'm stuck. What am I supposed to do? Of course, it also leads to low engagement because if I'm stuck, I'll be like, well, let me just do the barest minimum. That is it. And this will increase your cost. It will increase your cost because, see, the person is not bringing their A game to the table. You're paying salary for the person. The space that the person is using in the office, there is a cost to it. All the benefits, there is a cost to it. Now, to crown it all, if as a result of poor onboarding, this person makes a costly mistake, it is a huge cost. It is a huge cost. So onboarding is very, very important. And we should, as much as possible, let's look at our process. What can we do better? How can we make it better? So effective onboarding should be structured. Role clarity. The person's job role should be clear, as in absolutely clear. If the person has a two reporting line, the person should know. If there's a dotted reporting line, the person should know. There should be strong engagement right from that first day. If, in fact, I've gone ahead to make sure that our onboarding process even starts before your resumption. Before your resumption, that's when our onboarding process starts from. The way we engage you in our emails, when we're having phone calls with you, the things we say to you, when we are requesting for any documentation, if there's anything we want you to do before you resume, we'll let you know. If there's anything we expect you to bring, we'll let you know. So comprehensive training when people join. Like I said again, put everything on the table. Put it on the table. There should be no ambiguity, no hiding, transparency and honesty. Because as organization, if I'm transparent to you as my new hire, that I also expect the same from you. Then continuous support. You don't just welcome them the first week and you leave them. No, there should be like a 90 days plan for your onboarding to be effective. And when I say plan, I'm talking about the support, checking up as HR, checking up on them. Are there issues? You speak with their line manager. How is Bola doing? Do you think Bola needs support in this area, or whatever the conversation, however the conversation would look like, have conversation, and it should be documented. Please, it's important for us to document all these processes. Another thing I want to talk about is effective performance management in organization. When performance is not effective, is not well laid out, there is a problem. It is one of the pitfalls that we HR will need to look into. So when we talk about ineffective performance management, we're looking at unclear expectation. What are my deliverables? I don't know what my deliverables are, or I know, but I don't understand. It is unclear. Inconsistent feedback. Feedback can be structured in a way that it is consistent. And now I know that one thing we do as HR professionals, when we can give informal feedback, or we can give feedback on the go. When we do this, please, let's always back it up with an email, with a correspondence. In what am I trying to say? That way we are documenting our feedback. We document our feedback. So say, Bola, so this is the first quarter of the year, and Bola is supposed to do a sales deliverable of 100 products in the first quarter. And this is we are going into the third week, and Bola is yet to make any sales in the month of January. And I just meet with Bola. Bola, what is your challenge? I've noticed you've not made any sales. You have which area are you having issues? What area do you need support and all that? And okay, Bola, like, okay, I'm actually just having challenge in the area of closing deals. It looks as if I'm not communicating, I'm not speaking the lingua, or I'm not speaking how in a way that would make my potential clients to buy into my product. So Bola has given you a feedback, and you're also now going to provide solution to Bola's feedback. When we've had this conversation, the next thing for us to do is send a mail. In regards to our conversation, this and this and this are the top points, and these are the agreed resolution we made. PAM is documented. When we do that, and we make sure it's consistent throughout the entire system, one of the things we're culture we are building is we're letting people know that I'm not going to throw you under the bus in a case where you said, I said. We have a track, or we have a place where our conversation is documented. And peradventure, if what I sent in the email is not accurate, Bola can make the necessary contribution, and we agree. And that way, the feedback is tracked, is documented. Also, sometimes our performance management, our evaluation method can be outdated. And this can happen in where we were small, but now we're a large number of people. There has to be an evolution. We have to move with the business need. Same with our business process. Also, ineffective employee performance management. Also, it can hinder employee growth, because you're not measuring people. You're not measuring the staff with how they should be measured. Someone who is supposed to be a high flyer, but someone who has a potential for a high flyer, we are currently doing below what they are supposed to do. If we don't have an effective PMS in place, we would not be able to see that Bola has potential. So what is wrong? Why is she not doing this? So I had an experience with someone. Of course, we knew this person had the capacity to do more, but the person is not doing it. And we're like, just asking, what is wrong. Why is this person? So we found out that the way we've actually been measuring the person is the reason for the person's deliverables. So it was on us to now create a proper evaluation method such that the staff also see that, okay, I have this thing in me. I just need to enhance it. I just need to bring it out. So when PMS is ineffective in a system, it hinders employees' growth. It reduces engagement as well because people are just laid back. People are just laid back. They just give you their barest minimum. If they can give you 10, they'll probably just give you a 2, and they will think a 2 is okay. And in fact, with the 2 gone, they probably think they are doing you a favor. Also, it fails to align with individual goals for the organization. Those people, they will just occupy this space, and usually they are the people that becomes principality in the future. This would also lead to low productivity, retention challenge, because when people are laid back, people that are type A and type B personality. So type A people, they have their own strengths, but sometimes they can be laid back. Type A people, they are goal-oriented. They want to get things done. Sometimes if we don't manage it very well, type A people will be like, this place is not conducive. It's not allowing me to express. It's not allowing me to go beyond and above. So our PMS has to be structured in a way that it supports. It reduces our retention challenges. We have to tie it in a way that it reduces our retention problem. Our PMS system has to bring out the best in people. Also, so the next point is talking about inability to identify and nurture high performing workforce. So when your PMS is not properly structured or is ineffective, trust me, high performance will not stay. People that perform on a high level, they won't stay. They will go to a place that can drive them, that can give them that fulfillment as a high performer. So the common pitfall, of course, I mentioned some of them in my conversation earlier. So lack of clear objective, infrequent feedback. Now, performance management is an ongoing conversation. It's not just that one that we do. The exercise we do, maybe once a quarter or twice a year or once a year. That's the exercise. But the management itself it's an everyday conversation. So feedback should not just be few times. It should be always. When feedback is limited, it means that what we're trying to say indirectly is we are catching people to do something wrong. We are catching people to miss deadlines. We are catching people to fall into a ditch before we correct them. No, feedback should be ongoing. You notice that Bola is struggling, there should be a feedback. You notice the way Bola is addressing. So maybe I'm Bola's manager. So I pass by her. I see her talking to a client and I hear one or two things or or approach, how she says it. Immediately, that's an opportunity for a feedback. You don't have to wait for Bola because of Bola's approach, to lose the customer before you give Bola the feedback. So feedback should be consistent. It should be an ongoing conversation. And sometimes there could be bias in evaluation. And it could be due to personal biases, favoritism, just to name a few. So when there is biases in the evaluation, your assessment will be unfair. Your assessment will not be the true judgment of the person's performance. Also, when we focus too much on weaknesses are there for us to address, but it should not be the emphasis. We should focus on the strength. Overemphasis on deficiency rather than recognizing the strength can create pitfalls for us. So impact of poor performance management, low employee morale. Employee will feel undervalued, demotivated because of lack of recognition or support that they require. Reduce productivity. Of course, lack of feedback will hinder performance. Just like I said, that you don't have to wait for Bola to lose that client before you tell Bola that the reason why you lost this client, is one day I heard you while I was passing by. I heard you talking to the client in this way, in this manner. You should not know. Address it immediately so that productivity will not reduce. Of course, missed opportunity for growth. When we don't identify and develop talent, it limits the organizational success. And once the company is limited, your growth as the employee as well too is limited, because the success of that company is also your success. The success of the company is also your success. Of course, high employee turnover is an impact. You would experience it. So what are the solutions we can think of? Of course, set clear goals. Set clear goals. Goals has to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Also, provide regular feedback. And I think this is one thing we can do. We can train ourselves on how to give feedbacks. We can train ourselves, and we can train as HR, we can train our line managers, we can train our staff on how to give feedback. So one thing we can do with feedback is let it be one-on-one meeting. Giving feedback where you have a large people can fall on a deaf ear, or it will not achieve what you're looking for. So let's try one-on-one. And even when you're trying one-on-one, it should be a constructive feedback. It should not be about criticism. We should offer constructive feedback, because what we want to achieve is we want to achieve a correction. We want to achieve whether it's a behavioral change or a mindset change. That's what we're looking for. So it has to be very constructive. Also, as much as possible, we should implement continuous performance review. Replace annual review with ongoing performance evaluation. So, I mentioned that it should not just be an annual thing. As a matter of fact, we should not wait for annual review. It should be an ongoing conversation. We work every day. We have deliverables. We do transaction every day. Our operation is every day. So it should be an ongoing conversation. And lastly, on my point here, leverage technology. We should leverage technology as much as possible. Point 6, neglecting employee development. So some organizations, they take employee development as an afterthought. To them, it's an afterthought. And when this happens, it tells me that the organization is neglecting training, and they are not seeing growth opportunities. They are only focusing on the immediate. They are not thinking, they are not long-term in their orientation, in their value, in their mission. They are only focusing on, okay, what is just right before us? Yes, what is right before us? The immediate tasks are very, very important. But also, we should have a long game. It should be a long game. It's not just about where we are right now. It should be about where we are desiring to be as an organization. And that only comes to play when I see how much investment we put in our employee development. So the oversight of this, neglecting this, leads to disengagement. We all agree that if we work in a place where we are not being when we are not being prepared for the future, there is a kind of disengagement because you just get bored, you just get tired. You just get tired of doing the same thing. But a place where, you know, you're prepping your first line manager for the next level. You're looking at skill gaps. You're thinking of succession planning. You're thinking of innovative ways, competitiveness within the sector. These are questions that would generate, okay, so how do we develop? How do we move from this level to the next level? What are we supposed to do? And when we prioritize this helps us to prepare future leaders for a sustained success. So importance of employee development is to enhance skills. We all agree with me that the way we do things 2 years and 3 years ago has become obsolete. As a matter of fact, I think 2 years is even too long. Every year in, year out, there are better ways of doing things. So it means that we need to keep upskilling, reskilling, and relearning. So you keep learning. So you have to enhance what you know how to do. If I know how to use Excel at a 5, so it means that I should push myself to be able to use Excel at a 6 or 7 or a 8. So it also boosts productivity. So imagine I'm a payroll specialist. We don't have the enterprise. We don't have a software in place, but I enhance my Excel skill. And initially, before, it takes me 3 days to prepare my payroll, but now I've streamlined it to a day. That's improvement. That is improvement. So employee development brings productivity. It boosts productivity. It drives innovation, you know, because you're always saying, how am I supposed to do it better? And it also aligns to personal growth, where everybody wants to develop themselves, because trust me, if you don't develop yourself, you have no value to bring to the table. Also, when we invest in this development as an organization, we are able to address the skill gaps. We are able to retain top performer. We are able to retain people that are smart, and we ensure a long-term competitiveness in the business environment. We are on edge. We are on top of our game always. Let's just look at the banking sector, for example. You can see how each of the bank, how they're always coming up with a new product, how they're always coming up with a new services for us. That's it. It comes from a place of product development. And for a product development to happen like that, it means that there is a huge investment in employee development. So it's very, very crucial. So common neglect, lack of structured training program. Our training program has to be structured, and our training programs should not just be for the sake of training program. It should be tailored towards the gaps we have right now. Limited career growth. Career growth in organization has to be clearly defined. There should be a path to it. Inadequate budget allocation. Yes, this can be a major challenge, but thank God for the internet. Thank God for the revolution of the technology advancement that we're experiencing now. So there's always a way we can always work around our training program whenever we have budget allocation. But I believe that if we have good business justification, and we're able to match the RIO on it to the business need, I think the budget allocation would not be a challenge. But in case it is a challenge, I think my counsel to you will be that you go on the internet. There are innovative ways where we can cover our skill gaps. I personally believe that, because it's something I use, it's something I've benefited from. Also, sometimes when management focus on immediate results, yes, and I believe that there's some development that are not immediate. They are not immediate. Sometimes it takes time for you to see the results. Again, this is a mindset. So it's for us as HR to address it, and how we are going to address it. We just need to make a good case, letting them understand the impact of the development and the time frame for it. Lack of recognition for development efforts. So someone takes the initiative to develop themselves in a particular skill set that is lacking in the organization. They should be recognized for it, because when we recognize them, we are subtly telling the other staff that this initiative, this behavior is welcome, and this is what we want to see. So we should recognize development. Inconsistent or irregular performance review, we've talked about that it should be ongoing, and it should be regular. We shouldn't wait to just 1 year. 1 year is inconsistency as far as I'm concerned, because how can you wait 12 months? So sometimes you're resistant to change. We as human beings, we resist change. So we have to manage this resistance. Poor succession planning. Whether you're a small business or a large organization, there should be a sort of succession planning in place. It's not so much. It's not so much for us to see, because see it like this: if that person falls sick today and they're on admission for a period of time, who takes over? That succession planning is as basic as that. Inadequate use of technology. So we need to train our people to be able to use the technology that we have deployed. So if we're planning to deploy a certain type of technology, we have to find out how many people have their hands on this already, how many people have the skill, and we need to be able to train them on it. Culture and social barriers. This is a huge conversation, but the point is, we have to make employee development a culture, and we have to have conversation around it. So I'm just going to run through the impact. So reduce employee engagement and motivation, high turnover, stagnation in skill sets. And this stagnation in skill set can be costly. Trust me, it can waste time, it can waste resources, it can waste, and waste time, waste resources is the same thing as wasting money. Low employee satisfaction, it decreases organizational performance. So sometimes we miss leadership potential because of lack of employee development. A potential leader, a potential talent that can become a leader, that can go climb to the level of leadership, we miss out on them because we don't want to develop them. Inability to adapt to change, and that's change is the only constant thing where we have to keep adapting every day. So when we neglect employee development, this comes into play a lot, and it also affects the company culture. So it'll be like, they don't train us in this company. They don't train us. And because people are not being trained, I said it earlier in one of the points I mentioned, that you can't make some certain requirement from them if you don't train them, if you don't develop them. And sometimes it also leads to stress and burnout, because imagine you having a skill set that can help you deliver a role or a job or a deliverable in just 2 hours. But because you're not aware of that skill set, it takes you 1 week to deliver on it. If you keep doing that, it will accumulate to burnout. You would experience burnout. Also, lack of employee development, it reduces innovation and creativity. And sometimes it can create legal and compliance issue. So solution, implement structured training, offer mentorship and coaching, establish clear career pathways, opportunity for cross training. There are so many online platforms that we can use as employee development platform. It also promotes continuous feedback and performance review. It's important for us to invest in leadership development. Many organizations, we promote people to leadership, but we don't prepare them for leadership. When you're an officer and they promote you and you're being promoted to a team lead, it requires a whole new skill set. I was reading the book, I think Four Things, the book we are currently reviewing on the HR mentorship book club. I think four things a manager should do and one thing the manager should not do. I just paraphrase the topic, and it talks about this leadership. I just want to link it with this leadership development. I read that sometimes when we promote people, we don't prepare them for that position. And one thing I've realized is for me to get promoted from one level to the other is because I've self-managed myself properly. That's why I'm able to get that promotion. But when I begin to lead people, a new skill set is required for me to be able to do that. It's not just about my own individual achievement anymore. I have people that I have to work with. So if I don't have those required skill set, leadership becomes challenging. That's why it's very, very important to invest in leadership development program. Offer tuition assistance or reimbursement. So for people that want to go back to school, we can support them in one way or the other. Encourage participation in the industry event. So I've worked in a place where it is part of your KPI. You must attend industry events. And why are we doing that? Because we want you to get exposure. We want you to see how other people do things. And because it's also a form of learning. We can also create a culture of knowledge sharing session where you can hold monthly, quarterly. It depends on what works for the company. Soft skill development, set up an internal promotion program, learning groups. So just like we have a book club, we can do book review in offices as well too. We can do a book review. At least I know a company that they do book review. So recognize and reward development efforts, align development with organizational goal. These are some of the things that we can just take that I'm sure that will help us address this situation. So I will talk about underutilizing HR technology. So this is us not fully leveraging available HR software and tools to streamline processes. And I know one of the things people will talk about is the cost in this area. Well, we've gotten to a stage, we've gotten to a level that no matter how small it is, and we just have to leverage technology. And I think there are a whole lot of products in the markets that can fit our pocket size as an organization in one way or the other. So, talk of recruitment, talk of performance management, even leave management that we talk about, employee engagement, data analytics, even the employee development we talk about. There are a whole lot of HR technology that we can leverage on that, because when we don't leverage on this, it can lead to inefficiencies. We can lead to missed opportunity for improvement. We can be behind the markets. We can be behind when it comes to competition. We don't have that competitive edge. And also, when in decision making, it affects, because when you don't have the right data, our decision making will lack data driven. It will not be data driven. So it's important for us to leverage technology. So you might look at your processes as a department, as an HR, and see, okay, what technology can I bring in? Which one can I adopt? So impact of underutilizing HR technology, inefficiencies, of course, manual processes increase time, efforts, and sometimes we incur costs doing it. Data inaccuracies, increased costs, employee reduced experiences because the employees will be limited in some of the things they do. Missed insights. Every decision every business makes now, they make it from an insight, and that insight is data. And one of the things that can give you data on the go is when you leverage technology. So we'll look at possible solutions to underutilizing HR technology. Please provide proper training. Now, I want to share a personal experience in this training. So I think I'll backtrack a little bit. And when you're bringing a new technology on board, please make sure that all the units that will be using the technology, make sure they are in line. Make sure they're in the copy of decision making. And why do I say that? HR, if it is an HR technology, if it is a technology that everybody will be using, you are not the only person, you are not the only business owner in that process. Every other business owner, it is important, and there should be a buy-in for them, because if there is no buy-in for them, when you deploy that technology, there will be an issue. So, because once everybody has a buy-in, it creates a mindset of ownership, and people will look forward to it. So when the training is coming, people are open and receptive to it. And it is important that as an HR unit, every of your people are aware. So you do a proper training on how to use it. Using a technological new tool can be challenging, especially if it is something that we've not used before. If this is your first time, so you need to provide the proper training, and not just training once, a support training. You follow up on them. Integration is very, very important. HR is full of a lot of information. So you want to make sure that there is a seamless data flow and collaboration. If the HR technology is going to collaborate with another department, you want to make sure that there is a sync. You want to make sure that the workflow from HR to finance, or from HR to operation, is seamless. There is no hitch. There is a smooth transition. Automation, of course, we reduce repetitive tasks, because once you repeat a task, there is a room for error. But with automation, we can improve on that. Ensure regular updates as well too. There is a need for regular updates, because technology, they update themselves. So the technology tool has to be updated, and it is important. It must always align with business goal. User adoption, encourage usage encourage usage among the team. And the way to do this is you highlight the benefits. You highlight the benefit in it for everybody to use. So I want to talk about workplace culture. Of course, work culture reflects our shared value, practices, and behavior within the workplace. The behavior I mentioned here, sometimes this behavior are not clearly defined. But a behavior can be that it's only when it is like 2 o'clock to the delivery. That's when everybody start rushing. We need to deliver on this way. That's a behavior within the workspace. I was in a conversation with someone, and I asked that, what are the work behaviors you don't want to see within the team? And honestly, it comes from a culture that has been built over time. So maybe you want to reflect on what are the work behavior that we have. What is our work culture? What does it look like? It tells you a lot of things. If it is weak, then you know you have to do something about it. If it is a culture where information are hoard, no proper, is poor communication, lack of trust, maybe a culture where gossip thrives, people are always talking on verified information, on clear values, it's a culture. So if these are the if these are the things that are displaying, then you know you have a weak culture place, and you want to look at it because it can create a disconnected workforce. It can create a disconnected workforce. I worked in a place where we had a situation, and there was a lot of everybody had different version of what happened. And I told myself that if I don't address this thing, people will continue with this different, fragmented conversation. And it wasn't going to benefit us as an organization. So I had to call a staff meeting and just address the matter head on. We didn't resolve the matter, not that we had any solution, but at least we all had the same meaning of what happened. We could now say, okay, this is what happened, even though it's still a work in progress. So when you have a workplace where people can just say different things on a particular situation that happened, and you will have a disconnected workforce. So it's better for you to just call them to order. And that's a culture, because I could have left it for everybody to just be doing here and there, and it will dampen people's morale. People will be like, they will not like, what's going on? Can we just have an authority tell us this is the situation of things? So that's why you want to address a weak workplace culture. So, and also it leads to people feeling undervalued, disengaged. And when people are undervalued or disengaged, productivity is impacted. Collaboration, when there's a lack of trust, people cannot work together. And at the end of the day, the overall success of the organization is affected. So poor communication and transparency. It is important that organizations are very, very transparent. Of course, absenteeism, high turnover, low engagement, lack of alignment with company value, office politics. It always happens, but it should be healthy. Toxic behavior, limited collaboration within the team. So the impact, of course, it affects efficiency, productivity. It affects the bottom line, the profits of the organization, because once productivity and efficiency is impacted, your bottom line is definitely impacted. Job satisfaction, poor morale, reduced innovation and creativity, reduced innovation. And also it affects your reputation as a company, because you will not be able to attract the right people. So what can we do? How can we provide solution? Open communication and transparency. Make sure that our everyday practice aligns with the company value. It has to be with the company value. So if one of the company values is integrity, is trust, then everything that we do, we are using that as our yardstick. Is there integrity? Am I displaying integrity? Am I displaying trust? Should I be trusted? Can I trust other people? So our daily practice has to tie to that. Of course, there has to be recognition and appreciation. When people behave in the accepted way, we should recognize it and we should appreciate it. It promotes teamwork, collaboration, inclusion, and also, of course, it promotes innovation as well too. This also helps us to invest in employee development and well-being. A safe workplace gives people sanity. I mean, it helps employees to look forward to coming to work, which is very, very important. And as HR and to all the management team, let's lead by example. Let's lead by example. HR team burnout. HR, we experience burnouts. I experienced burnout late last year. I did for a couple of days. I was struggling. You know, when I started my conversation, I said some of us are guilty for not going on leave. So I got my own fair share. So it happens. We are not robots. We are not machine. It happens. Sometimes it can be physical. It can be emotional. It can be mental exhaustion due to prolonged stress, excessive workload, or lack of support. So let's look out for some of the signs of burnout. And once you notice it in your team, in fact, which is why I also said people should go on leave. That is why I emphasize that we should encourage, we should champion it, we should preach it, that people should go and rest. And I mean proper rest, where they are not at work and where they are not on vacation and we're still sending workload to them. I know that some nature of operation or businesses might not warrant that, but can we reduce it to a barest minimal? Can we do that so that we consider the people? Because you want someone that is well, you want a staff that his or her well-being is in top shape, because that's when they can give you their very, very best. When they are burnout, performance diminishes, productivity is lowered. There's nothing they can give you. They will just be struggling. I remember that time when I was experiencing thank God it was a period where we didn't have much to do. Not like I went on leave. I did not go on leave. I am so guilty. But what I did was I just shut down. I wasn't doing any mental work. I wasn't doing any work that was going to exert myself on. So we really need to look at it, because it will impact the organization if we don't address the burnout. So causes of burnout, of course, we've talked about it. Workload, pressure, excessive workload and pressure. When people are not recognized or not supported the way they should be, insufficient breaks, long working hours, poor work-life balance. Am I still audible? Is anybody still?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the impact, of course, I've mentioned some of it in my opening. Productivity, it affects productivity, and anything that affects productivity, it always affects the profit. It always affects the money. It always affects the outlook of the business, and people will leave. People will leave your organization because they would want to go to a place where they can have a work-life integration, because they are saying that work-life balance, there is really nothing like work-life balance, but whatever works for you. So some of the solution, let's set realistic workload and expectation. As HR, we are not Voltron, defender of the universe. We are not. We are also human. So let's set realistic workloads and expectation. Take regular breaks and time off. HR, you too, you should go on leave. Go on leave. 2025, plan your vacation. Vacation. If you want to do 3 days, make sure it is a 3 days that is off work. Let your mind rest. Let your mental being, let it rest to rejuvenate. You'll be surprised that when you take break, some of the long-standing challenges, you come up with fresh ideas, new innovations to resolve it. So please, as much as possible, let's abide by all this. So moving forward, so what do? We've talked about all these mistakes. So let's go back and look at ourselves, at our organization, and let's see how we can improve our processes. Let's see how we can improve some of the things we've talked about. I know, yes, some of us, we have a whole lot of them in place. Let's look at it. More importantly, I would say let's question our processes. Why are we doing this the way we're doing it? Where did it start from? What happened? What was the scenario like? Why did we come up with this decision? Does this decision, does it still favor us now? Let's look at all this thing. Evaluate your practices and implement at least one. Just take one and implement it. And together, let's drive change for a better workplace in Nigeria. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me here. So, any question?
We have, thank you.
Hello. Hello. Okay. I'm trying to check the chat room for questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so you were mentioning something about the workplace culture, and I just thought of something. What if the workplace culture has to do with favoritism, or some aspect of people preserve that whatever they do, they don't get to do it right in front of a certain, maybe senior executive, and other people get away with it. And you are the HR manager there, and you keep on getting reports that there is a certain way, maybe the senior manager for sales and business development is always communicating with a particular employee as against the other general employee. And you want to manage the situation where the perceived favoritism is being discussed openly, or let me just say, even in corner places where you see people gathered. How do you think you can manage that?
Okay, so if I understand you clearly, so we have a senior person or a senior officer who is in the picture. So I think the first thing I'll do is I shall have a conversation with the senior person that, okay, this has come to my notice, and what can we do about it? Because I don't think, sometimes people don't open up to things like that. So it's just a manner of approach where I make the person understand that, so the impact of this behavior, this is what is going to cost us, this is what is costing us already. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a senior, so if I have a middle, let's say middle managers, I'm going to have a meeting with the middle managers and the team leads as well too. And we're going to address the matter. So, but the first thing first is I'm going to discuss with the senior person. And the reason why I'm doing one-on-one with the person is because I don't want to point fingers, and it's not about confrontation. However, we have a situation on our hand that would affect the business. It's the business. So address that one-on-one. Then the next step is, because I also want to address it on a company-wide level. Get my management, my middle management team, get them involved, have a training for them, how to manage situation, point out. So because sometimes people don't know they are showing favoritism to a particular person. So point out the signs to them that, okay, so when you catch yourself doing this, this is what you're actually doing, and this is the impact, and this is the consequences. Then the next thing is, so it can be like a 6-month or a 6-month period where we want to address it, because sometimes it's not just one-off, because I'm sure it is a behavior already, and sometimes behavior takes time to change. So we can do like a 6-month plan around it. So, but continuous conversation and training about it.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. So in another dimension, you are perceiving that the person is actually exhibiting favoritism. What if this particular senior executive is not, and is just only going with what we said about type A and type B? And typically I have a task to deliver and somebody is delivering for me all the time. I also have a senior executive that I report to. How would you handle that scenario? It's not favoritism. You just want to get the job done. So how do you think you can manage the other team members' emotions or manage the way they are feeling? If typically it is just a culture of performance and I have to go with a performing team member all the time.
Okay, so yes, I understand, but I think, okay, so personally, how I'm going to handle it is, well, I believe that every manager should be able to handle all kinds of employee, whether they are type A or they are type B. You should be able to manage them, and you should be able to have conversations with them. So, if it is based on the performance that is making me to look like I'm showing somebody favoritism over another person, then there should be an open conversation around it. It's performance. There should be an open conversation around that. Okay, the reason why I'm always going to Doing is because Doing delivers as when expected.
Okay.
And what okay, Kunle, you don't deliver as when expected. The particular project we work on, I need a Doing. I would also give you, there would also be where you also have your strong point. So I think I think I can tie this to understanding my team dynamics and managing their emotions. So managing emotions, when it plays out in a situation like this, I think it's an indication that I've not been doing a good before now. So if I've been doing a good job before now, it should not come out at this moment. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So it's managing everybody. So we all know where our strength is. We all know where our weaknesses is. So Kunle will complement me in this area. Doing will complement me in this area. So it's a win-win for all of us. I believe it's a win-win for us because the type B people, they are creative, they are patient. And people that are patient they always see details. So you need a detailed person to check somebody who is always very fast to the answer. Sometimes you need both of them to work together because you need their strengths on a particular project. So I would address it that way.
Thank you, Mrs. Shawamima.
Thank you. So Bukola Messi, your hand is up. Bukola Messi, your hand is up. You can unmute and ask your question. Bukola Messi. Okay, maybe she's not there. Okay, so I'm just reading some comments. Alazine said, I joined an organization where it took me 3 good weeks to get work tools and office. My first and second day, I was sitting at the reception from morning to closing hours. If I were not an HR professional, I would have left the next day. Okay, are you still there? I hope you've made changes because sometimes we are there to effect changes. And that's the honest truth. We are there to see the things that are not properly done that we can do better. So Bukola, your hand is still up. You have the floor. You can unmute and ask your question. Okay. Feedback should be effectively managed and correction should be put in place to avoid reoccurrence. I absolutely agree to that. So Olubimi Akinola said some companies don't invest in employee development. They would. So as the HR, see, you have to talk to your management. Sometimes the reason why they say these things or they do these things is because they don't see the need. They've not seen the impact. They've not seen the importance. So for you, maybe you should start small. Maybe you should start with trainings that are not so expensive. And importantly, the return on the training, document it and show it to them that this is a proof that you experimented this and this is what you've got. I'm sure they will listen to you. I believe they will listen to you. I know they will listen to you. So Wendy says, how do we recognize development? How do we, well, everybody needs development. I need development. I've developed myself in some aspects this January. Everybody do, trust me. And please, I know we all say companies should train us, but I think you as an HR professional, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. I'm not advocating that companies should not train us, but I think the first training comes from you. The first development should come from you. There is a level of what you know, and there's a level of you can move to. So the question is, what are you doing to move to that level? Ijoma, please, you have the floor. Ijoma, so I'll just be rounding up. Ijoma, you have the floor. Okay, so I don't know why the people raising their hand, I don't know why they're not talking, but I'll just take these questions. And I think after this question, we would end the session. Okay, so how can I as HR person create a proper communication culture? And what is an advisable feedback system? So how you can communicate a proper communication culture, is that you can have a communication policy. You can look at your organization. So what are the challenges around communication? What are the challenges? Note down the challenges around communication. So maybe when you notice that when two people have conversation, they don't understand each other. That is a challenge. Note it down. Or maybe when they send emails, they use high sounding words. They use big grammar, big English. Write it down. That is a challenge. There are a whole lot of challenges that can be around it, but you need to know what the problems are. With that, you will be able to now develop culture. So for your email, it could be that English, your wording should be straight, no ambiguity, no high sounding words. That could address the email challenge. Sometimes when two people talk verbally, your communication culture can be that, okay, back it up with an email. At least so that way, because sometimes when we are talking, the way our mind works, we can be very, very fast in the way we process things. So we can miss out some things. So, but when they've communicated informally, and it is now documented through email, when the person is reading it, they have the ability to read it over and over and over and over. That way, comprehension takes place. Do you understand? Comprehension takes place. So, or you want to train your people on communication, how to improve communication, how proper communication within the team. You want to do a general training. There are a whole lot of training vendors that can help you with that. So what is an advisable feedback system? I'm careful not to tell you this or this because I don't know the context at which you're saying this from, but a feedback should be constructive and should not tear the person down. You know, sometimes when you give somebody a feedback, you can tell that this person, I tore this person into pieces. You didn't build the person. Feedback should build, actually. Feedback should do one or two things. Should invoke correction, a correction in behavior, a correction in action, a correction in process. That's what feedback should do. Feedback is saying you did this way, it could have been done this way. The manner and the approach. The manner and the approach. Okay, so I hope that has addressed that. So how do you navigate or manage situation in which culture, in which the culture is that management tries on setting up spies to monitor staff? You were told as a person that you also need to have people. Okay, so Babatunde, if I were in your position, I would say no. If they tell me to do that, well, I think I've built my career to the point where I can tell my management, no, I am not going to do that. I'm not going to set anybody up as a spy to work for me. No, it's a bad culture. It's not going to work. It's not going to prosper. And I'm going to say no. So that's what I can tell you. Me, Omobola Joko, I will stand up to my management and tell them that that's a bad behavior. And that's a bad example we are setting. So I would say no. I would say no to it. I won't do it. I won't do it. Okay, so I have a lot of people raising their hands. I'm supposed to round up. I've spent way past my time. Okay. I was told to unmute. I'm trying to. I'm trying to unmute. Tunde, okay, Tunde, you can ask your question.
Okay, yeah, madam, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Good evening. Brilliant submission. Honestly, I feel your pulse. You are truly a professional, and you have taken it from what I call psychological safety in the organization, because most of your submission deal with that. We should not only concentrate on what is written in the law, whatever, but we should also look at the human part of our profession on how to implement it. Thank you very much. But I also want to talk on the issue of the communication, just the last one you addressed. That I think in every organization you have your communication pattern, internally and externally, and you find out that sometimes when you get to a new organization, you find out why is that communication channel so weak? And I will give you a very clear example. For instance, you are used to an organization where they have a structured communication channel. They have a box. If they want to announce anything, DD or the CEO or the MD is going out, it's not going to be for 2 weeks. It's on there. Oh, by so time, we're going to have so period. We are having it there. And an organization that you just be hearing it from 2 or 3 persons. What is happening? Tomorrow is going to be this, it's going to be that. You find out, oh, there's a problem here. And as HR, I think we should encourage, like we said, communication policy that we address, that we have a structured system to address such things. If probably you want to use email to communicate with staff, you want to use the intercom to communicate with staff, at what level do we use what we call circular, where, okay, this is what is going to happen tomorrow, this is on Monday, there's going to be seminar on this day, unlike, oh, you don't, you just see people going, you used to just join. You know, there's certain organizations like that are not structured. And I think that is what the person is really, talking about. Then I want to ask you one question, man. My question is this. IMS, performance management. There's a whole lot of thing in performance management. How do you think as an HR you can carry along how do I put it now? You are coming in now and you see that what they have on ground in an organization you just joined them is not to your level, and you want to somehow carry those who are young. You don't want to talk to the director. You are a senior manager. You want to talk to those who are coming, and you don't want them to sit as a rebel. Oh, this guy is bringing a new idea, and those.
Let me interject. For performance appraisal, you have to start from the top. for performance appraisal, for performance management, you have to start from the top. You don't start from the bottom. And you know why? As HR, we are facilitators of performance management and the appraisal process. Who sets the goal? Is the goal is cascaded down from the business objective of the year to the heads of departments or maybe region, whatever the structure is, and from there it comes down to the team members in the department.
Middle manager,
So if I join a new organization and I notice that, okay, what the system we have can be improved on, I start from the top. I start from the top. I can't start from the bottom. I have to talk. First of all, I have conversation with if I have a management team or an executive, I start from there, discuss it with them. These are my observation. This is what I observe, and these are my proposal. It's cascaded down to the bottom, because if you start from the bottom, you're actually creating a rebel situation. It's like you want the younger the bottom people to rebel, because they begin to question their managers, they begin to question the seniors, and that's not what you want. Because remember, the owner of the process of this whole performance management thing is the line managers. They are the owner of that business unit. So, for example, are you the one to give a salesperson feedback? Do you know whether the salesperson is delivering or not? You're not the one tracking the goals. It's the line manager. So it's the line manager that you have conversation with. And importantly, I think as HR, we also need to train our line manager on PMS. We need to train them how to evaluate. We need to train them how to set SMART goals. We need to train them on different evaluation methods.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good summation.
Thank you.
I equally learned from you too. Thank you very much. You've done a brilliant summation. Thank you.
So, Ijoma, thank you. Ijoma, you're asking what's the standard numbers of days for paternity leave. I can't tell you this is the standard numbers of days. Some people, I've seen companies that do 5 days. I've seen companies that do 10 days. I've seen companies that do, it depends on your management. It's a management decision. Whatever they feel it's good enough. The whole idea of the paternity leave is just to allow the father to also bond with the newborn and, bond with the mother as well, because, that period can be a lot on the mother and the child. So it's just a way of, having that time where the family gets to bond together into the new reality that they are facing. Okay. Eleme, I hope I didn't murder the name. You'll be the last person. I think you're muted, so you can
you have unmuted me. Yes, thank you very much. You really murdered the name. It's not your fault. It's Google. It's Elemanya.
Okay, sorry, my apologies.
No, it's not you. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Well, I've enjoyed your lecture, and I totally agree with you exactly about this. Your last, I need to emphasize to the guy who asked about starting from the bottom, because, like you said, he's building up a rebellious situation, and he might be shooting himself on the foot from those that employed him. So I believe you've said that all. I was going to make a comment on communication when you talked about email. I didn't want to put it down because I typed very slowly. You see, email has the advantage of being tracked. For historical purposes, it's always good to have records of discussions between officers, especially to avoid argument in future. You say, I said, I didn't say this, so I did say that. And when you have situations in companies where there are disputes or where there are bad relationships, and you have had a discussion, had a meeting, it would be nice after that to put your thoughts in writing. Say, recall we did this, and we agreed that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 should be done. And send that as email, not WhatsApp. That's my comment, so that that information is there as recorded and will be a reference point for the next meeting where there's a dispute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma, for the contribution. Thank you. And you're absolutely right. So thank you everyone for staying with us till this time. I'm sure we've learned 1 or 2 things. I have also learned 1 or 2 things, and we'll sure get to improve. So let's go out there and make the workplace a better place. Thank you all. So bye for now.
Thank you very much. Good night. Bye.